found a copy of the Lotus Sutra, here translated the Essentials of the Dharma Blossom Sutra. With that passage, you'll see, I'll read it, and you'll see it doesn't say anything about arhats. It says, let me see. Okay, at a certain point the Buddha says to the assembly, you should attentively listen, consider well, and be mindful as I now elaborate on this Dhamma. Okay, when he said that, there were 5,000 bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasikas, and upasikas within the assembly who got up from their seats, paid homage to the Buddha, and left. Why was that? Their offenses were deep and heavy, and they were unduly proud. They had no attainment, but thought that they had. They had no realization, but thought that they had. And because of such errors, they were unable to stay. The world-honored one, that's the Blessed One, remained silent, not ordering them to stop. Thereupon the Buddha told Sariputta, my present assembly is now without branches and leaves. Only the trunk or the heartwood remains. It is best that those men of undue pride depart. You should listen well, for now I will speak for you. And that's it. You know, there's nothing says, certainly the text says that they had no attainment, but thought that they had. If they were arhats, they would have thought, they would have, the text would have said that they were arhats, that they had attainment. Excuse me? I'm... Oh. Okay, this is the question. It actually relates to Sutta Samyutta Nikāya, chapter 22, Sutta number 82. The Buddha mentioned that no self is negative. In the Sutta, the Buddha always uses, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself, instead of no self. Why do Buddhists nowadays prefer using no self instead of selfless, I think, is meant? Maybe the point of the question is whether the Buddha taught that there is no self or non-self. That's sometimes the way the distinction is made. When we look at all of the discourses, we don't say the Buddha saying there is no self. That's a common way in which modern Buddhists express anatta. But the Buddha himself doesn't say there is no self. I think because that would lead to some kind of confusion, that the person thinks, well, I'm somebody, and now the Buddha is saying that there is no self, so that means I don't exist. What the Buddha always says in the suttas, he says, like the five aggregates, form, feeling, perception, is not self. Or the six sense bases, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, are not self. So there's a subtle difference between the two. If you say there is no self, it seems to be denying the empirical person. Whereas when you say that the five aggregates or the 12 sense bases are not self, it's indicating, say, a lens of observation and contemplation in order to break the identification with these things that we identify with. Do you see the difference between the two? You shake your head, no?
I've never been able to grasp the concept, so I'll
Okay, if you say,
But you just used the word selfless, right?
that's written in the question.
Selfless. Selfless, doesn't that imply I'm not doing this for any reason but because I'm a good person?
That's actually not what's meant by anatta. It's not selfless in the sense of being generous, kind, compassionate. But what the Buddha is saying is that you could put it that form is selfless in that it is not the self. In that sense, you could say it's selfless. But anatta is literally not self. So I prefer to put it that way. Form is not self. Feeling, perception, volitions, consciousness are not self. So he's saying that these things, you see, probably the way the Buddha is looking at it, the problem that human beings face is that they identify with these five aggregates. They say, this is I, this is mine, this is myself. And so if you just say, there is no self, it's not going to resonate with them. It'll just cause confusion and puzzlement. Because they go on identifying, the five aggregates, this is myself, and now the Buddha is saying there is no self. So how do we bring together this idea there is no self with the five aggregates are myself? But the Buddha is taking like a practical approach by saying that the five aggregates are not self. And so I identify with the five aggregates, and now I hear the Buddha saying form is not self. Physical form is not self. And so then what?
What is it?
It's just physical form. And the reason why the Buddha indicates that it's not self, because he points out it's impermanent, and then it's not subject to our control. And so when you point out the impermanence and the not being subject to control of the five aggregates, then one breaks the identification of taking that to be mine, I, myself.
So, but you can't use the word soul, right?
Some people use soul as a...
As a Buddhist, you could use it.
I don't have a problem with the word soul itself, providing one doesn't take it there to be a soul as some kind of metaphysical entity which exists within the body and which goes from this life to some eternal afterlife, or as the Hinduism has it, the soul is that which transmigrates from one body to another. So that is what, is unchanging. Yeah, that is what's rejected by the Buddha. Go on. Go on.
So there is something. May I use the word soul? There is some essence that goes forward, carrying karma.
There's a transmission of...
Reborn.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to use the word there is an essence, because essence... I express it as there is a continuity of consciousness, or a stream of consciousness, so that the consciousness is always changing, always arising, passing away, so that consciousness is never the same. It's always arising and changing depending on conditions, but there's a... Yeah, but there's a continuity of consciousness, so that when this life comes to an end, then the stream of consciousness or the process of consciousness doesn't come to an end, but it goes on. It is sort of the carrier of the karmic dispositions, and also the carrier of impressions, habits, dispositions, and so on. And that stream of consciousness moves into another existence. Hip hip hooray!
It only took 5 years.
Let's drink to that.
Thank you so much. And awesome too. Keep Dr. going. Keep helping. Thank you so much. That's great.
Okay, good. Okay, Jen?
Yeah, the body and mind, like 5 aggregates. We do not say that body and mind is drinking. Say, I drink the water. Right? This way.
Yeah.
I drink the water. If I say that body drinking the water, then it's not right, right?
If I say that body
Yeah.
is drink?
That I am the body, drink the water.
If you say I am the body drinking, that's not correct.
Then I say, I am drinking the
Yeah.
water. That is not right either. Those are
No.
underlying,
What is that?
that is the underlying tendency of I am drinking.
No, you could say I am drinking the water, but that is like,
But not this body is drinking the water. It's I am drinking the water.
yeah,
Not this body,
yeah.
I am drinking the water. So on top of this, my question is the drinking exist on the Arahant? Drinking without saying I am, or
Yeah.
without saying that body is drinking? Is the drinking
Of
this
course,
function?
of course the function goes on.
Then how do they communicate drinking? If I want to invite someone, or if
No, the thing is that even the Arhat, even the Buddha uses these words, I am. You could even say this is mine as conventional expressions. It's just that they don't ascribe to these ideas or these expressions the idea that there is some substantial reality corresponding to them. In fact, there's a sutta in the Samyutta Nikāya. It's in the book with verses. I think it's sutta number 15, something like that in that area. Chapter 1, 15, where a deva, a deity, comes to the Buddha and says, those who are arahats with taints destroyed, can they say, I am? Can they say, this is mine? And then the Buddha replies, yes, they can say, I am. Yes, they can say, this is mine. Then the deity says, I'm puzzled. If they are arahats, how can they express themselves in that way? Then the Buddha says, they use such terms as mere expressions. Do you have it on that little... Is it on that device? Like, bad. This class. Yeah, I'm only joking. Yeah, I was just thinking, do you have on one of these devices the connected discourses of the Buddha? You have it there. The whole volume is called Connected Discourses. It's Samyutta Nikāya. Yeah. Yeah, it should be on. Let me take a look. say, they speak to me. And then the Buddha answers, if a monk is in Arhat with taints destroyed, he might still say, I speak, and he might say, they speak to me. Skillful, knowing the world's parlance, the world's way of speech, he uses such terms as mere expressions. Okay, then the deity says, is it because of conceit that he would say, I speak, that he would say, they speak to me? Then the Buddha says, no knots exist for one with conceit abandoned. For him, all knots of conceit are eliminated. Though the wise one has overcome the conceived, he might still say, I speak. He might say, they speak to me. Skillful, knowing the world's way of speech, he uses such terms as mere expressions. And so I can feel perfectly at ease of, I will take it, I'll take another, let us drink to that. Yes?
I can really distinguish the desire, the conceit I am, desire I am, and I making and my making. One is asmi mano, asmi chanto, and the other one is ahankara, mamankara. Are they the same? I making, I don't.
I making is ahankara.
Yeah, and then mama.
My making is mamankara.
Yeah, is my making.
Yeah.
The
Let's
same
say,
as desire I am?
it seems mind-making is an expression of desire I am. No, maybe not the same.
Because
I don't know.
The I making, my making are used to describe that an Arahant will not do, right? So an Arahant also does not have asmi mana, the conceit I am and the desire I am.
Yeah.
So I really can distinguish both sets. What does I making mean exactly?
It means, I would say it's creating the notion I am. So it seems to be, I-making seems to be related to conceit, the conceit I am. Except when you get those two terms, you usually get ahankara, mamankara, mananusaya. So there you have conceit as one term. So then ahankara, I don't know, I wouldn't try to tie them down too specifically. But ahankara seems to be to work either with conceit or with the views of self. Mamankara is simpler, it's just taking things to be mine. So it's more directly related to craving. Don't worry about it too much.
I have to render them in my translation into Chinese. So I need to get the meaning.
So the ahankara,
Yeah.
words or does that work?
Yeah, I rendered 我做 or 我造作.
So,
I don't understand what kara means. It means karoti, right? And what does the making of I mean?
I say it's giving rise to the notion.
So that's the fundamental, spontaneous, intuitive notion of I. That Bhante said, first of all, you have the notion of I, and then you fill in the notion of I with some contents.
Yeah, I have to say, because mana nusya is mentioned separately, and mana is connected with asmi mana, the conceit I am. So ahankara, I think even the commentaries sometimes give different explanations. Sometimes they explain ahankara as being related to conceit. Sometimes ahankara as being the expression of the view of self. So just translate it according to the actual words, but don't worry too much about trying to connect these different schemes.
When you talked about declining nouns, you said in Pali,
Yeah.
you don't decline nouns using I, you, with a pronoun.
No,
Right,
no.
right. So I'm just curious now,
No.
if there's a relationship between the way they decline nouns in Pali and the whole idea of no I. Or are there pronouns? I don't understand. I don't know Pali, so this is a stupid question again, but are there pronouns?
Oh, yeah, of course there are pronouns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then my question's way off the mark.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
there are pronouns.
Okay, sorry.
Bhante, I have a question about a passage in the commentary. I thought maybe you could. It's glossing the text, because he is devoid of lust through the destruction of lust.
Yeah.
And it talks about these meditative attainments I'm not familiar with. It says, having seen their danger in lust, he dwelt in the contemplation of suffering, becoming emancipated through the deliverance of the wishless,
Yeah.
and deliverance of the signness, and deliverance of the emptiness. Are these things talked about in the suttas?
They're mentioned, that set of three liberations, the liberation of the of the signless, the wishless, and the liberation of emptiness.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're not explained, or at least especially the wishless is not explained. The three terms are just used together. But two of them we'll actually see are explained in the Sutta number 43. The signless liberation and emptiness liberation are explained.
Okay, thank you.
Bhante, I'm sorry. Can I really don't understand asmi mano or the conceit I am, either in Pali or English. Does the conceit I am means I am the conceit, or the conceit I want to, the conceit is I am. They are a position grammatically, or the desire I am means I am the desire, or the desire that I want to be existent. What's the meaning of the desire I am?
Okay, let's take
okay.
the conceit I am. So this is the idea or the notion that I am, that there's some I existing here. It's not I am the conceit, but it's the conceit that, in quotation marks, I am, that there is an I that exists. The desire I am seems to be related to the desire for existence, the desire to be somebody. Does that make it clear?
Desire I am means what? I want to be somebody else?
Not somebody else, but it's just the desire for there to be an I.
Oh, a desire to exist. to exist
As
in
an
some
I,
form.
yeah, a desire for there to be an I that exists. It seems to be something more fundamental than for a self to exist.
I'll think over it.
What is it?
I'll think about it. Thank you very much.
Any further questions? Yeah, okay. Okay.
If you're a climate activist
Yeah.
and this is me trying to understand some more. If you're a climate activist and you conceive the earth as not mine,
Yeah.
why would you be a climate activist? Why would you even care then? Not you, but a consciousness. Why care?
I
They're
think he
separate?
said the answer. Say it again.
Is there separate?
Because it's not I that those are suffering.
Suffering?
Yes, those cause suffering.
No, because say if the climate gets out of control, as it's already doing, then it means that there's going to be massive suffering for all living beings, for all sentient beings, including oneself, those near and dear to oneself, as well as all other, even the unknown species will face mass suffering. So protect beings
Yeah,
from
I mean,
suffering.
I see that that's
Yeah.
of course what would happen.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, I don't know, struggling with the same ideas of I, mine, and this is not mine, and you know, how one separates one's consciousness from all of this suffering in order to elevate oneself to get into the stream. I'm sorry, I'm just still grasping, like Po Wei, although she's probably way ahead of me, with the that concept of non-self, or you know that. So
Well,
it
it's
just
not-
kept
it's not
coming
so
to me.
easy.
Why would you care then about the earth if it wasn't yours and you weren't it and you weren't even part of it? You're just basically a consciousness here to do, I don't know what.
Well, naturally, one has compassion for living beings, and one realizes that a stable, sustainable planet is a necessary condition for living beings, human beings, and other life forms to flourish.
We never really talk about that, though, do we? I mean, we never talk about that compassion angle when we discuss all of these, you know, these ideas of taints and aggregates and
Yeah.
the rest of it. That compassion angle never seems to come in. I'm only realizing that now, but it doesn't come in. Is there a place where it comes in and ties it together? And
You know, it doesn't figure so prominently in the text.
yeah,
But it seems to be, let us say, incorporated under the aspect of morality, of not harming living beings, and in the aspect of,
but it's always in that negative framework, right? Not harming, not.
yeah,
It's never in the framework of do good, or, you know.
well,
It doesn't seem to me that it comes in a positive, a wholesome, if you
Yeah.
will, framework.
Yeah.
It always seems to come in a negative framework. This is not
Yeah.
mine, this is not self, this
Yeah.
is, you know, and I just wondered if there was any place where it comes in a positive framework.
one could say that it comes in maybe under the aspect of giving, generosity,
Dana.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
and giving life, giving protection. And then also under the aspect of, we call it the sublime states or Brahmaviharas, loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity.
Bande,
Yeah.
if there is no I, does it also mean that there's no she, no he, no them?
Again, from a conventional sense, or let's say from a biological sense, there's certainly a distinction of he, she. It's just that from the standpoint of, if you take he or she, again, to be signifying some kind of self, some kind of substantial entity, then no he, she.
Like, what's the real, do you really exist? Is it all in my head? I don't think those pursuits are so valuable. No.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with Stephen.
Of course.
Yeah.
What's the point?
It's just, this seems to be more of an epistemological kind of thing. What do I know? And I don't really have to concern myself to, I know you're there, but are you really there? Do I have to concern
No,
myself with these questions? Is it valuable? Am I going to get anywhere thinking about these questions?
I think you would. I mean,
No, the point is not in any way to, let's say, to undermine our empirical reality, our experienced reality, in which we're dealing with persons, situations, things like that. But the purpose is to, I say it's pragmatic, even more pragmatic rather than epistemological, to undermine those aspects of mental grasping that are unwholesome and harmful to oneself and to others.
I'm sorry. I just going to bring this one more time, and I promise I'll try. But remember way back when you said, when you said women, I'm going back to Sandy. But it's true, right? It's in, I don't remember the sutta.
Yeah.
Women can't be a Buddha, can't be Mara.
I didn't say that.
What'd you say? What did you say?
No, the sutta says,
Excuse me, not you, but the sutta said, right, that a
and I gave an
woman.
explanation of that, that it doesn't mean that somebody who is a woman now cannot become a Buddha in a...
When they become a he.
What is that?
When they become a he.
And if you remember the explanation that I gave for that, it's not in any way, the way I say it, denigrating women compared to men, but this is construed against the background of the social, cultural understanding of India in the Buddha's time, according to which within society, the person who occupies the position of power and authority, it's always taken to be the male. And so the Buddha is the one who becomes like the foremost authority, the most powerful figure within the spiritual domain. And so for that reason, the Buddha always manifests in the form of a male, at least from the perspective of the text.
So Kuan Yin. Interesting.
Yeah, okay, Kuan Yin in Indian Buddhism.
Doesn't exist, though, right?
No, Kuan Yin exists in Indian Buddhism as a bodhisattva called Avalokiteshvara.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah, Kuan Yin is actually just the Chinese translation of Avalokita is translated
Oh, I thought
Kuan.
that Kuan Yin developed as it went along the Silk Road and got to
No.
China or Japan. Was it
No, it developed in China
China?
from the Indian bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, who you could see here, this is Kuan Yin, it is a male.
Well, partially.
Yeah, but even in the Lotus Sutra, it says that Avalokiteshvara can manifest in any form that's necessary to instruct and to guide sentient beings. So for those beings who are to be guided by a woman, Guan Yin will manifest, or Avalokiteshvara will manifest in a female form. For those to be guided by a bhikshuni, by a nun, Avalokiteshvara will manifest as a nun. Okay, but when Buddhism came to China in the early centuries, still Avalokiteshvara or Guan Yin was regarded as a primarily male bodhisattva. But then over time, how this happened, it's a matter for scholarly inquiry. Guan Yin sort of shifted, metamorphosed into a female form.
Or transsexual.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've heard the story that it was that this man was so compassionate that he began to take on female. Maybe that's. And I don't mean to be funny.
Yeah.
But when we start talking about no I, and then we do go into the pronouns, I mean, there's the she, and Sandy, take over.
Does somebody else have questions?
Thank you for entertaining me.
Okay.
And you know I said I did not mean that because you think I meant it in an insulting way. No, I'm entertaining my stupid questions.
But anyway, you could see from this is a statue of Avalokiteshvara Guan Yin from the Tang Dynasty.
It's a woman's hands, it's a woman's face,
It's a very feminine face.
it's just,
Yeah.
they don't hear it.
But I think that's because Guan Yin is considered the bodhisattva of compassion, so the compassionate face takes on feminine features. But then you see the one in the glass cage, that is, Ming Dynasty? Many centuries later, it's Guan Yin becomes full-fledged female. The one by the water too, yeah. There's a whole book on this by, what is her name? She was in the Columbia University. Professor Chun, C-H-U-N. If you speak to Tsuku Lee, you ask for the book it's a big book about the history of Guan Yin. I think it has chapters that explain how Guan Yin became changed from male into female.
But the consciousness remained the same. The consciousness. So sorry, I just keep going on. That's an origination, I'm just stuck on it.
You have, I saw, is that your Buddhist dictionary?
Yes.
Well, that has a long section on deep.
I know, but I don't get it.
I think he uses the Abhidhamma method to explain it.
He also says that most American scholars don't have it right.
He says European scholars.
Actually, he doesn't. Western.
Western, yeah.
Yeah. I've read this over.
Mm.
That's why I'm hoping. But anyway, it has been elucidated
Mm.
today, and I appreciate it.
Mm. Okay, I think we'll end for the day. Getting a little bit tired. Pushed against the wall. No, it's good to be pushed against the wall. Okay, so we'll end with 3 half bows. Please remember, I guess it's the first